NBA free agency day, I guess, with a noon World Cup match and NBA free agency. I won't be getting much sleep again, but that's fine. I love basically all forms of free agency with all the possibilities, and the moves started happening yesterday. In case you missed it, Ja Morant traded to the Blazers for Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray. It looks like Jalen Duren will be leaving the Pistons. He's ticked off at their offer, trying to work out a sign and trade with the Sacramento Kings. What's going to happen with Jaylen Brown? Props to Kevin Sherrington. He asked the question. Yesterday I texted Mac, good question, at the Dusty May presser. And then I said, who's going to ask about Kawhi? And then Kevin Sherrington steps up because I want to know the Mavs' direction. You had the Kawhi rumor. Apparently, things are moving down the road with Toronto for Leonard to end up there, which a majority of Mavs fans would be happy with because yesterday on the fan text, they did not agree with me and Bobby. Go ahead, bring Kawhi here for that level of compensation. Well, Kevin Sherrington basically asked, what's the goal? What's the direction? What's the timeline? Much to my disappointment, Masai Ujiri did not touch it. He's like, today's about Dusty May. And he basically said, look, the goal is to win. And I gathered, did you listen to the whole thing, Bob?
I listened to most of it. I didn't hear the whole thing.
I gathered he was basically saying, don't take too much of what I said about we're not making win-now moves today. It's about future moves to build around Cooper Flag. Don't take that too seriously. Just like we should have learned when he said, no, it doesn't mean I'm necessarily. My lack of confidence vote for Jason Kidd doesn't mean anything. And
he's just not going to tell us the truth is what I've learned already. The Masai Ujiri is just never going to. If he says something in a press conference, we've already learned he's just not one to go off of that.
Does it make you believe that they were sniffing around Kawhi?
Yes. Yeah, I think they 100% were.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly has before. Like, that, when he got...
Well, different situation, though.
No, but when he got Kawhi, he had liked Kawhi for a long time. And he's spoken highly of Kawhi in every sort of area. We've seen, when an executive gets their mindset on somebody they like Anthony Davis, then they a lot of times just start thinking of building with that in mind and building with that player in mind. And I think it's easy to see how they could become competitive pretty quickly if they've got Kawhi here and healthy with the rest of the group.
So, G-Bag's buddy, the great Bobby Marks, who I think crushes it all the time, did a great job during NBA draft coverage. He came out with his NBA free agency preview. Here's storylines throughout the league before we dive into the Mavericks. The future of LeBron will dominate the early days. Now, the initial thought was Rich Paul, whose clients include LeBron, Anthony Davis, Draymond Green, was trying to orchestrate all of those guys to Golden State. I forgot they had Jimmy Butler. Tells you how long it's been since I've seen Nick Harris. Where Jimmy's like, look, I understand. They need to trade me. And they get someone else on a faster timeline without injury concerns, then they need to go ahead and trade me. So Jimmy was understanding about possibly being moved because in a move for Anthony Davis, Jimmy Butler would all but certainly have to be included in that deal. Well, then yesterday someone else floated, I think it was Windhorse, don't put it past Rich Paul to use this Golden State rumor as an opportunity to get all of his guys paid in their respective places. So, the Wizards are worried that Anthony Davis would want to demand to go out to California and team up with Steph and all the clutch buddies. Let's pay him like we did Trae Young. The thought was initially that the Lakers were going to keep LeBron, but apparently it's been crickets towards the opening stages of negotiation. And then, of course, Draymond declined his player option with everyone thinking that was to clear up more money to pay all the senior citizen geezers to get together, even though I am rooting for that. What do you do if you're the Lakers? Because I've been thinking they have to just let LeBron go. There was a feeling last year that, Austin Reeves was playing well when LeBron was not there. If you're the Lakers, do you want LeBron back or let him go?
Man, I don't know. They looked like they played better when he was off the court. Like when Luka and Reeves were clicking and healthy, that looked like that was the combo.
Look, he can still play.
Yeah.
The numbers are still fantastic, especially considering his age. My thing with LeBron is, like, I can't have Luka, LeBron, and Reeves on the same team defending.
I don't think you can just. I think even offensively, it's a little difficult. Like, to just in terms of the mix and the way those two play. Like, LeBron can play off the ball. He's done it. But I think it's just there's so much ball dominance there that, like, naturally is pulling at you when you have them both on the floor, that it makes it really difficult for things to flow evenly. And so, I mean, he's still a really, really good basketball player.
Yeah.
And he's still, you know, one of the better ones in the NBA. He's probably not like a top 10 player anymore, but he's somebody who he does everything at a level that says, like, that's a really good basketball player.
Bobby Marks, issue number 2 are more blockbuster trades coming. We've already seen Giannis and LaMelo get moved. Will the Celtics' Jaylen Brown or Kawhi be next? And, of course, the story that blew up over the weekend was Bobby Marks on Sirius XM talking about an analytics person in the league saying this about Jaylen Brown.
There's mixed feelings about him when you talk to teams. The analytics of Jaylen Brown is not good. I'm more of an eye test guy. There are some people out there that look at that a little bit more deeper than what the eye test says. I had one, not an executive, but an analytics guy saying, well, yeah, we view him as like the 7th best player on a team. I was like, holy crap.
Oh my God.
I get it. There's a rule for analytics and stuff, but, well, I guess they call it, I joked, I said, I guess we call that strategy now. And we basically changed it where people got
7th best player on a team?
So I was like, wait a minute, that's a little bit of a stretch there.
What are we doing here? What are we doing?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Charles Barkley's going to take that and never let analytics be cited on Inside the NBA ever again.
Yeah, I would. Now, clearly, Bobby Marks is not endorsing it because he said, what are we doing here?
Yes.
Like, this was not him saying that he thinks that. In fact, he was just offering up the perspective of, like, I personally would like to go with the eye test, but these other analytics-minded teams may not look good. So, okay, rule out Cleveland, which doesn't count losing a series as losing a series anyway. So, but I would think that this is where you just got to start looking past the game. Analytics has to. I think analytics is much better when you're using it in the context of explaining what happened instead of trying to predict what's going to happen. That's a problem. When you want to look at a game and go, like, how did this happen? Where did we lose here? All right, let's go deeper inside the numbers. Oh, this here, we weren't efficient here. We didn't do this. But I think the danger comes in trying to extrapolate it, especially in football, oftentimes in basketball, less so in baseball. Baseball, it's much easier, I think, to extrapolate out what these numbers mean and how they can apply to the game. And because we saw the Moneyball era click, now you've just got people so obsessed in all other sports with, oh, we can do the same thing here. We can find the margins. We can have cheaper teams. We can find, market inefficiencies that we can exploit. And it's not that simple. And it leads to dopey things like Jaylen Brown's not a good basketball player.
And Jaylen Brown, of course, can't help himself. He had to respond. Analytics nowadays used to discredit and control narratives. Roll the ball out. None of these guys better than me on both ends. Who does he work for? I've won the most games since I've been in the league in terms of this and that. So Jaylen Brown responding, something that I do find curious and it's killing me. I haven't heard the Jaylen Brown suitors. Why haven't we gotten the teams that are calling or the Celtics are calling or are interested or are sniffing around? Have you heard a team?
Just the Bucks. That was it. That was the only one. And then ever since then, it's been a little more vague. There are people speculating where he'd fit, but nobody said, hey, this team's been on him.
I think...
because he's the 7th best player.
Is my sense way off that people are, sleeping on him a little bit?
Yeah. No.
This guy's a damn stud. He is a freaking baller, and he can defend as well as we saw in the NBA Finals. I wonder if people are questioning his mentals throughout the league, and is that scaring them off? Now, look, he's on a Supermax deal, too. All right, so he's making a crap ton of money, but this guy is a beast.
Sam Amick from...
The Boston Celtics stunned everyone, made me feel really stupid this year by having the season they did because of Jaylen Brown with Tatum out.
Sam Amick from The Athletic had said yesterday, I guess this was ahead of the Ja trade, but said that Portland was the front runner to make a deal and to go get him. The Portland obviously didn't have to give up like a bunch, so maybe there's still an avenue forward in that this is a couple different moves that they're setting up to make, but that was, again, before that trade actually happened. The top one on the ringer when they go through the suitors of teams they think make sense and propose trades, the 7 teams they put in there, the first one they list is Portland. So it would seem like Portland would be at the top. The others, Houston, which Houston's always seems like they're aggressive to go ahead and add and try and flip some things. Atlanta.
And Udoka.
Yeah.
With a connection to him.
Yep. Which Marcus Smart getting bought out yesterday. That's the projection now, is that he's going to end up in Houston.
Yeah.
The Sacramento Kings.
And people have been talking about Atlanta, like, on the come up a little bit. I think they took the Knicks to 6 games, and they need to try to become like a serious team at some point.
Sacramento, Denver. It says specifically that ownership loves it. They said, unfortunately for them, they said Nikola Jokic has figured this out. He's asking the waiter to bring the check before their tables. Even talking about the ownership doesn't likes to skip out on the bill. But he said Jokic is really pushing them right now that they need to add this offseason. So something that would make sense would be, all right, let's go out there and make a move for Jaylen Brown. And then the Clippers and the Cavs are the other 2 listed on here.
Bobby Marks continuing to preview free agency today. Will the Clippers be penalized for salary cap circumvention? And then contenders are on restricted free agent watch. After restricted free agency dragged out last September, will we see the same with Jalen Duren, Walker Kessler, Peyton Watson, and other names I don't recognize and don't care to talk about?
Chris Mannix, who's in Boston and knows that team really well, he had also mentioned Cleveland, which seems weird to me. I don't know if you're...
Cleveland is like the only second apron, or one of the only few second apron payers. Like, props to Dan Gilbert, who is... had plenty of negative press during his run there, but he's been willing to pay it.
I don't know why, though, if you're talking about like Cleveland having been one of the more competitive teams in the East the last couple of years, why you'd go like, okay, here, have Jaylen Brown too.
Well,
like if you're in
have
the
to
East
get over and hump.
I don't know. I'm talking about from Boston's perspective.
Why?
I don't know why you'd send Jaylen Brown to Cleveland.
Do they say that Donovan Mitchell would go back? Like, how are you gonna have Harden?
No, it says that it would be...
How are you gonna have Harden, Jaylen, and Donovan?
It said that it would be, in all likelihood,
Jared Allen,
Evan Mobley would be a big focus in that trade. But they said it would be, to try and get Harden, Mitchell, and Brown together.
Okay.
Which seems like an awkward trio, though.
Yeah. Now we go team by team with the previews to the Dallas Mavericks from ESPN former GM Bobby Marks.
Yeah, and Bobby Marks is always really good at just kind of doing these capsules every year where he takes a look at, like, all right, where is every team at financially? And Dallas does some flexibility that a lot of teams don't have right now, cap-wise. That's what happens when you purge Luka Doncic. They are $40 million below the luxury tax. They're $49 million below the first apron. He says they're $59 million below the second apron. So they've got plenty of space to be able to bump up against it. He said these are the top offseason priorities. He said, number 1, consolidating the contracts. New president of basketball operations, Masai Ujiri, proved during his time in Denver and recently Toronto that he is not afraid to shake up the roster. The Kawhi Leonard trade in the summer of 2018 confirmed that and ultimately led to a title. In Dallas, Ujiri has the tradable contracts. Only Kyrie Irving is earning more than $20 million right now for the Mavericks. And draft assets, up to 3 first-rounders, which is interesting because you don't hear people talk about Dallas having the draft assets to make it happen. But the fact that they've got everybody under $20 million, Bobby Marks says makes it very easy for them to move just about anybody they wanted to. Number 2, the return of Kyrie Irving. With Dallas shifting toward youth, does Irving still fit? Considering the Mavs had the 6th worst record in clutch games, they were 17-28, have no incentive to bottom out in the standings because of their pick situation, and are in need of a high-level playmaker, the answer should be yes, at least for now. Irving has 2 years remaining on his contract, including a $42.4 million player option in 2027-28. And then third, the group of extensions. There are 3 possible extensions that Dallas can get done that they have to work through. Derek Lively II, Max Christie, and Najee Marshall. Lively, who can extend up until the last day of the offseason, has been impactful as a lob threat and defensively, but has yet to play more than 55 games in any of his first 3 seasons. Considering his durability issues, including the season-ending foot surgery he had in December, Dallas should include injury protection if a new deal is reached. The Mavericks defense was nearly 10 points per 100 possessions better with Lively on the court in 2025-26. And then he circles what he thinks are the most important things for them to go after. A stretch big for lineup versatility, a backup 3-and-D wing. He says in-game reps with Irving and Cooper Flagg are going to be big for them. Healthy season from Derek Lively. And then finally, he says a reserve point guard capable of starting. So somebody who's your backup, but with Kyrie questions and various things like that, may need a spot start for you. But that's one of those things where I find it fascinating that he seems in favor of, and so many analysts seem in favor of, just not moving Kyrie right now with where this team is at. And it didn't sound yesterday like the way Dusty May talked about it, where he's basically saying that's going to be my confidant and the guy that I'm leaning on for all of my wisdom is Kyrie Irving. It didn't sound like Dusty May wanted him to be going anywhere.
Is there a name out there, a move out there that you've been thinking about that you would either want or expect? Fantex, this is for you as well, that you would expect an aggressive Masai Ujiri to pursue. There's someone out there.
It's always important to look at like the history of guys that he's been close to or been connected with, and I mean, obviously the big one so far was Kawhi was a big one. There's just this insistence from a lot of people that he's going to end up with Jakob Poeltl at some point, who's a big that he's always liked. But other than that, there's not like, when you look at the top of the free agent market, they're definitely not going to be around. You just talked about Jalen Duren earlier. You've got Trae Young, who just re-signed his deal with the Wizards. They've got the Austin Reeves deal that they got done. LeBron's a free agent, but they're not connected to LeBron in any way, it doesn't sound like. And once you get past that, now you're into just a tier of just some guys that are out there that I don't know how much those guys click.
Trey Murphy a little bit. I'm seeing Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins, I think he's going to re-sign with the Heat, 3 for $64. So that's where things stand. NBA free agency today.
903 says Case and Wallace. And then 469, would Drew Holiday be too old? Drew Holiday has been in the NBA a while now. I think he's 36.
Yeah. And Portland, now has Dame, Drew, and Ja.
Which apparently there was a Blazers reporter last night who said Blazers don't intend to trade Drew Holiday at this moment. But a lot of people say a lot of things. Masai Ujiri said he wasn't necessarily going to fire Jason Kidd.
Yes, Drew is 36.